Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to another episode of the series of tutorial on how to build a WordPress mega menu from scratch. Welcome again. In this tutorial, we're gonna pretty much complete what we're doing with the mega menu. So we're gonna finish our styling, we're gonna print the future image, and we're gonna fix a bunch of things. So first, let's fix a bunch of things. In the previous lesson, I styled the description of the future image and the regular description to make it look like this. So just a simple description here without the A tag, and here just like a simple description of the future image. You will notice that the description by default from the Walker-Nav class of WordPress, it's printed outside. If you want, you can completely change it or like simply change it by accessing the location in the start element where the Walker-Nav class detects if you have a description, and just search for the span class sub. That is the default type of wrapper container that WordPress uses to print a description. If you have this, you can simply put the description inside the A tag, but if you do this, our CSS doesn't work anymore, and especially like the link, if we have a description container, it won't work, because if the span description is inside the A tag, also that part is gonna be hidden. So we don't want to have that, right? So in order to avoid complexity and I don't know, getting a bit overwhelmed with a bunch of different if statement, I suggest you to leave it like that. It's not an issue having like the link that doesn't wrap the description, even if that could seem like an issue. I suggest you do not spend too much time in this, because the user will most likely click and will get attracted by the title or the footer image, not by the description. If you want to put the description inside the A tag, then you have to create, you have to override the style, and then you have to create here an if statement to check if the lead container has the description. Then don't print the A tag, print just the description, so we can have everything wrapped properly. But then you have to drastically update the Walker-Nav class with all these type of attributes and stuff, and it turns a little bit complicated. I mean, you could do that, but I wouldn't recommend it, so let's just leave it at that. What we're gonna do now, first we're gonna create our separator, our divider. And to create a divider, we can use just simply the different columns and have pseudo element, like an absolute pseudo element to the right of the column to have the border, like in our design. If we access our design, we see that every column has this nice nifty separation. That it's like a super light thin border of EEE type of color. It's like a light gray, and it goes to the 100% of the container. Of course, if we just simply apply border left 1 pixel solid EEE, it's gonna get as big as the actual column. So as you can see, it looks like really ugly, because we cannot force the columns to have 100% width, 100% height. I mean, you could do that with Flexbox, but I wouldn't recommend it to do it here, especially because you have to change a bunch of things in responsive. I mean, if you want to use Flexbox, it's gonna solve all your issues, but let's do it with pseudo elements, and let's take care of having these borders at 100% height. So let's access back our header.scss, and here inside the mega menu column, we can put an ampersand after, define a position absolute, then a display block, and then, as usual, a content empty, but a content like string, an empty string. In order to make a pseudo element visible, you need to define these 3 attributes, otherwise it won't be visible. So let's say that the width of this element is just 1 pixel. The background color is that light gray that we want to use. And then the height, whoopsie, the height is 100%. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh and look what happens. Now we have this pseudo element, but it's all messed up because it doesn't respect anything. So the only thing that we need to do in the after is just put a top position to 0, and it's gonna get aligned to 0, and that's perfect. The first one shouldn't happen. Second one, it's okay. Third one, blah, blah, blah. And the last one, it's good. So if we need to avoid to have the pseudo element at the first one, because that doesn't make any sense. So let's see if it works. And not first child. Oh, sorry. We need to remove the and here, and not first child after. And there you go. We don't have it anymore. That's perfect. So it worked. That's amazing. And let's put a top 0. So it's going to be 0. That's awesome. So what we're doing here, basically, we're saying to the CSS that if the mega menu column is the first child, don't have an after. We don't want to have the after here. We don't want to have anything. Just leave it like that. But if it's not the first child, every time let's put an after pseudo element with a height 100%. And the height, it goes 100% of the height of the container of the drop-down menu, because these Lee classes, this mega menu column, they don't have a position relative. If we put a position relative, look what happened. The height of the pseudo element are gonna like not go 100%, like they're gonna stop at the height of the actual container, and we don't want that. We want to be as high as the actual drop down. So let's not put a position relative to the mega menu column, otherwise we're gonna have a problem. That's perfect. That is beautiful, and I really like this effect of the link going in rollover 100%, and we did that thanks to applying a padding to the actual link and not the Lee container, like the column or the list container. And this is pretty beautiful. Now it's time to apply the almighty future image. So if we go in the Walker Nav class, we're gonna have pretty much already everything we need to activate a future image, because a future image is not other than the post thumbnail, and we know that we defined some of those links as pages and posts with a future image, and in order to recognize those, we assigned a class as future image, because we don't want that future image to appear by default, but we want to have the future image in the mega menu only if the user specifies a class of future image inside the CSS classes. So that's what we have to do. We have to check if the classes have a future image, and if it does, we're gonna print a different type of output. So let's do it simply here. So let's create a variable called has futured image, and it's gonna be identical basically to the array search of classes, but instead of searching for the divider class, we're gonna search for the futured image, the class that we specified here. So if we specified a different type of class text or something completely different, just like image or post thumbnail or whatever, just check for that. Just like remember that you need to specify that. And even if this is a class, it doesn't need the dot. So just like be sure to follow these things. And then we have to do the identical check that we were doing before. So because this is a Boolean, the array search returns true or false, we're gonna print this if has future image is different from false. We can print a different type of output, but the output has to be inside the A tag. So we need to access the point where we are opening the A attribute. And in order to do that, let's just simply cut this thing and let's put it just right after the item output, where we're opening the A tag with our href attributes and all the other stuff. So we can write a small comment to say check if item has future image. And if we do, let's update the item output to have something similar, something different. First, let's check if it works. So we can simply say, we can simply print a span. We return has featured image just as a test. And let's close the span tag. Let's go back in our front end. Boom, let's open it. Yeah, look at that here. The This one has a footer image. This one has a footer image. This one has a footer image. Has a footer image. Yeah, perfect. That's awesome. That's pretty straightforward. So now we can add to the item output our custom image URL. It's not as easy as you think it would be. Let me show you what I mean. Because by default, we could just simply say get the post thumbnail URL, right? And we should specify just simply the item ID, all uppercase, and then we can leave these as post thumbnail because we want the small part, like we want the small resolution, we don't want the big one. The problem with the item ID is not that the item ID it's the actual ID of the page or the post. The item ID is the ID of the menu item. So that's tricky. We need to get the menu item, or we need to get the page or post ID based on a unique identifier of the item. And the only unique identifier of the item that I could think of that it's like pretty standard and it's pretty obvious that we're gonna get the proper ID is the item URL, because that one relates to the actual unique permalink or unique URL of that specific post of page. So we need to grab the post ID that is gonna be equal to URL to post ID, and this is default WordPress function to retrieve the post ID from a specific URL. So if you don't know what's the ID of a specific post or page, you just inject the the URL of that specific post of page, and this function is gonna convert it into the proper ID. So now we can inject this inside. And of course, if we try and we check, it's gonna print the actual URL of the image. So we need to wrap this thing inside our almighty image source container. And here is gonna be equal to /, double quote, then double quote to interrupt, concatenate, double quote to reopen, /, double quote to close the image, and close the image. And I mean, here we could have the alt tag with /, so we don't create any confusion. And we could print something that we already have here, the escape attribute with the item title. And this is good for SEO and accessibility. And we could have a title if you want. You can put your own custom class if you want, but it's not necessary. Let's just save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's open, and boom, look what happened. We have the almighty footer image, and it's pretty great. The entire item is clickable, and there you go. We have the footer image. Of course, now we can style however we want. We can access back our header.scss where I'm defining all my style. And if we scroll down to the footer image, here we have A. And if we say the image tag inside the link in a footer image has to be, I don't know, some sort of like, let's give it a more padding, I guess. Let's give it a padding of 5 pixels and then 0. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, we can give it even more, 10, maybe not. Yeah, let's leave it at 5. But anyway, you can style it however you want. And of course, you can define even your own type of resolution. You could give it like a width of 100% and then a height of 200 pixels, so maybe less, like 10, 150, and you can resize it. Or you could have, instead of the image attribute, you could have a div container or a span container as a display block inside the A tag with the background URL, the background image, as the URL of your image. So you won't have any issue in resizing these things, like having the image stretched. But by default, like having the post thumbnail is pretty good because WordPress adapts these things to our container, and it fits the width of our column. It's pretty decent. So of course now this thing looks pretty ugly because everything is messed up, right? So let's organize a little bit all these links to make it look slightly better. So let's go back in our administration area and let's customize our menus in order to have pretty much all the posts. This is a footer image. This is another footer image. Then we have regular link, another regular link, another post. And these doesn't have, oh yes, has a footer image. This is a regular link with a divider, and then another post. We could have this one. Let's remove the footer image because I don't want it. And then the description, I had a divider, and the regular link. I don't want the divider for the regular link. And let's save this menu and let's see what we did here. Let's refresh. Okay, 1, 2, 3, perfect. Regular links, divider, regular links. So as you can see here, what happens, and it's pretty normal, is that we have the items that don't fit the actual height because of the footer image. Like here, what I did in the design, if we access, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 items. Here we have like 6 items and a description. Here we have 2 items, then another column, 2 items. So it doesn't really match, and it's not like constantly printing the same exact number of items. And we can totally do that by giving the ability to the user to manage how they want to split these things. Because if we go back in our Walker Nav class and we remove this stuff, like here, we don't want to split the type of column. Let's just leave it like that. Here, we're going to have just a full list of all the pages and posts and articles and all the links and stuff. So if we want to give the user the ability, hey, I want 1, 2, 3, 4 links and the description, and then I want to cut, and I want to have these 2, and then I want to cut, and I want to have these 2, we can do that also with classes. So we can potentially, if we don't want to do it automatically, we can completely comment this count that we're doing here, and we can actually check if we have a unique class. That in my case, I want to do something similar to this. So we have the classes here, so let's cut this if statement and let's paste it right after the initialization, or like the declaration of the classes variable. So here we can do our check. We can simply check pretty much the same exact things here. So let's brutally copy paste this thing and let's update it. Like, let's call this variable column divider, and array search. Let's search for a column divider inside the classes, and if the column divider is different from false, we're gonna print exactly the same thing here. And that's it. Of course, now if we go back in our front end, nothing happens because we don't have any class or declaration of column divider. But if we access our menu and we say that, actually, let me readapt this because I don't like this divider here. It's pretty awful, right? Yes, it's pretty awful. So let's give the description, also the description, the divider. Yes, let's say this, that after the description, I want this to have a divider column. And then after 1, 2, the third image has to have a divider column. Like that. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. It's open. And nothing happens because I use the wrong class, column divider instead of divider column. So sorry about that. This is not a divider. Oh my god. Divider column. No, it's column divider. Silly Alex that doesn't remember the name of the classes that he uses. Sorry, column divider. Save menu. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And now we're gonna have the proper alignment or the proper separation of all the columns. So now we have full control on how to split the type of columns that we want, or how many elements per column we want to have here. So here we could potentially have all the elements that we want to fill up this column and then split in one, or like split every one picture or whatever. Or as usual, you can totally make it automatic. So inside this if statement, if we are inside the mega menu and the parent, it's the mega menu ID. So it means that your children, all the items are part of the mega menu. You can check your own custom classes and split the column however you want. You can do it by counting the elements, you can do it by defining a custom class, you can do it by checking if it's a footer image, you want to split the column. If it's a footer image, you can do however you want. The advanced thing that you could do, and this is an assignment for you and you can totally do it by yourself, it's creating some custom options for the menu. For example, if a user adds a menu here, you could have or some checkboxes here to say divide this, use a divider, use as a column, use as a footer image, whatever. Or you could have some custom elements to drag and drop inside the menu to have the divider, the column divider, the footer image, or whatever you want. This is slightly more advanced, but you can create custom options and custom fields also in the appearance menu, and you can pretty much customize completely the experience of the appearance menu without forcing the user to manually write classes, and that's pretty handy, right? So it's pretty much it for the series, actually. Of course, this doesn't look like at all as the design that we did, but it's just a matter of visual stuff. Like I could simply update this style CSS to make it look identical, but it's kind of redundant. You see the point. You know now how to build a mega menu, how to use the default drop-down of WordPress to extend it and print pretty much whatever you want thanks to the Walker Nav class. And I suggest you to experiment with the Walker Nav class in order to use custom classes and check and update the output HTML in order to heavily modify the look and feel of the Walker Nav class. And that's pretty neat. That's pretty awesome. Do you agree? Well, let me know if you think something's missing from this series. It was super short because actually the mega menu looks and feels like a heavy and complicated type of argument, type of topic, but it's actually really simple to build a mega menu. You can build a mega menu in like half an hour with all the code that you need, and if you want to extend it, you can totally do it. The Walker Nav class is pretty good, so I suggest you to experiment with it, have fun, and try to build your own custom mega menu. Please let me know in the comments below if you think something is heavily missing in this class. I'm gonna do other tutorials or like more extended tutorials for this series if you think I should tackle something else or I should create something more complicated. But I feel like you should have all the basics to build your own custom mega menu. So thank you so much guys for checking this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can spend a couple of minutes on the support me page of my website where you can find all different ways and methods to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you. Thank you again guys, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding!